Patrick Colbert, how are you doing this morning, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. So, before we kind of talk about where you're headed to Eastern New Mexico and joining that coaching staff there, I want to get a little background on you. So, can you tell me a little bit about your coaching background and how you got to where you are today?
Well, it all started, down in Bruni, Texas, with Coach Odell James. He was a quarterback at Baylor as well. He was on the staff there as well when I was there, and he gave me my first opportunity down there at Bruni. And then when Coach Briles got the opportunity to go over to Guelphi, over to Italy in Florence, he invited me to come over with him over there as well. And so then when we got back here to East Texas, we was at Mount Vernon. And from Mount Vernon, I went to Sabine. I've been to a few spots: Sabine, Big Sandy, and I was at Tyler here recently.
Well, so you and Coach Art Briles seem to be pretty connected at the hip here with how things are going. I know you played at Baylor and played under Coach Briles. So talk to me about that experience there at Baylor and not just playing under Coach Art Briles, but playing at Baylor and having that experience.
Man, it was coming out of high school. Coach Brown started recruiting me as a junior. I think 2010. I met Coach Clem. He was the first one, my offensive line coach. And we bonded from there. He was the only coach that came and sat in my living room and ate with my grandparents. Right before a basketball game. So it was a love from the beginning, and I said, like, I'm one of the loyals. I'm gonna stick with him until the wheels fall off. That's my guy, and it's gonna always be my guy. He gave me this is his fourth time giving me an opportunity, and I'm not gonna let him down.
Well, it does sound like a special relationship with you and Coach Briles. And obviously, a lot of people from the outside have their own opinions on Coach Briles. But you being side by side with him, like you said, your loyalty lies with him. What makes Coach Art Briles such a special person and something that the public may not know about him?
He's a leader of men. He has a contagiousness about him. Like he'll make Little John. One of the. He don't belong on the field, but Coach Brown will make him feel like he's the best player in the country. He just has this electric, vibe to him that everybody loves him.
Well, what is it like for you now, going back to join him and being on the staff again? I want to ask you about the Italy thing because that's a different, right? Going overseas and coaching over there. So, what was the football like overseas?
Honestly, it was pretty refreshing. It was kind of they have a lot more talent than one would expect. When you get over there, they got big, strong guys that they train and stuff for this stuff year round. But over there, it's more so like how you do softball here, softball leagues. They're actually paying to play, but it's American professional football for those guys. I had a couple teammates over there that played. Lynx Hawthorne, he came over and played, and Silas Nasita, he played running back for us.
That's awesome. And the NFL is doing a bunch of stuff now with going over to Europe and Germany and all that, and so kind of expanding the game. So it's really cool that there's already a nucleus of people that love the sport out there, and the NFL is just
Oh, for
kind of
sure.
tapping into that. So talk to me about the offensive line. You're an offensive line coach, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, talk to me about the trenches because nothing can be done in a football game without those boys up front. So, in your words, how important is the offensive line, and what's it like coaching the big boys up front?
Man, we're one of the most important units on the field. From the coaches to the trainers, we're one of the most important units on the field. We go as the offense go. If we can run the ball, we're better throw the ball, and if we can throw the ball, we're better run it. So that's my mentality. I want to run the ball. Be physical as we possibly can. Come off the ball, and treat guys bad.
That's a good thing about the offensive line to treat guys bad. Now with Coach Briles, I
Yes,
know
sir.
it's an up tempo offense, right? So it's kind of get to the ball quick, snap it quick. How is that difficult for offensive linemen to be in that type of offense where it's so high
Open up this
paced?
other can right here, too. Well, see, I trained my whole in the off season. In the off season, we trained for that. Up tempo. Everything we did was no less than 10 seconds. We get back to the line, we're going. Getting in your stance, getting set. So it's more so of an off season training to prepare you for the season.
As it should be, as it should be. Now, now you're from Kilgore, played for the Kilgore Bulldogs. Now, I don't know how much you've been able to keep up with Kilgore. Have you been keeping up with Kilgore this season?
Yes, sir. I was just in McLean Stadium
Me too.
last
Me
Friday.
me too. It was
Yes,
a it was a
sir.
it was a big game there. Talk to me a little bit about this Kilgore team. Not just this season, but last year had a really good season, made it to the state game, didn't end up the way they wanted it to, but this season just seems like they are laser focused and maybe even better than last year's team. What's your thoughts on the Kilgore team this year?
I think it's a maturity factor for sure. A lot of those guys grew up. That Solana game. That wasn't a loss. That was a learning lesson right there for those guys. And this year they done came back and playing hard, flying around, especially at defense. I think they got the best defense in the country. I mean, in the state for sure.
Maybe the country too. We don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it could be the best in the country. They are playing phenomenal football right now, and it's great. So talk to me about this Eastern New Mexico. Obviously, you like you said, your loyalty with Coach Briles and him reaching out to you, giving you another opportunity here. What was that conversation like with him to get you over to Eastern New Mexico?
Well, when he got it, when he first got the job, we would text him back and forth, and and then shoot, I told him, I said, Coach, I don't care what the pay is, I don't care what it is, I'm coming, just to be around him again, and keep picking his brain and learning nuances of being a leader and in the offensive scheme, and it's just refreshing to be around him again.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask too. With the amount of knowledge that Coach Briles has already, and then that he's obtained over the years, how neat is it to be able to pick his brain? And how much have you learned from him in all your stops with him?
Every time, you think you learn, you think you know everything, but you learn something new every day. Even him too. He tells me all the time. He said, I'm still evolving. As a coach, that's what you got to do. You can't, keep learning. Don't be one of those guys that get stuck in a rut and say, "This is what I do." No, evolve because the kids evolve. We don't have the same type of kids we had 10 years ago. More athletic, more physical. So you got to evolve with the time.
And that's a good point. That the kids are getting bigger, faster, and stronger every single year. So take me back to when you were playing at Baylor about 11 years ago, when you were at Baylor, and then to where the football players are now. Is there a difference in the game that you've noticed?
Oh yeah, I believe kids come out of high school now more developed and ready to go. Because when I was in high school, red shirting was a huge thing for most kids when they get to college. You're going red shirt to develop. But nowadays, you have kids coming out of high school that already have, the nutrition down, the time it takes to get in the weight room, and what all it takes to be a good football player.
So what's next for you? When are you heading out to Eastern New Mexico to join Coach Browse? When is all that happening?
We report January 5th, so I probably go down a little earlier just to get situated, acclimated, and see what's all out there. I'm
Ha-
kind of excited to get out there, something new.
Yeah, for sure. And have you talked to any? Are you a part of the recruiting staff? Like, do you recruit too, or is there other people on the staff that do that?
We're all gonna recruit. I'll be heavily into it when I get down there. Right now, trying to see we could get some kids to come join us. But when I get down there is when we're gonna be full tilt,
You got any
all
uh,
in.
you got any eyes on any Kilgore boys that you want to get over there to Eastern New Mexico with you?
Yeah, we're looking right now. Um, I love all those guys. And, it's if I had my way, I'd offer all of them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you
Can't take them
gotta
all though.
gotta no sir, pick and
are,
choose.
are you going to be in Arlington Friday to watch Kilgore?
Yes, sir, I will be.
All right, fantastic. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us a little insight on Coach Browse too. Because, like I said, a lot of people from the outside, he came to East Texas and coached in Mount Vernon for those couple of years, but I don't think a lot of people really know who Art Browse is. So I appreciate you giving some insight on that, and excited to see what y'all do at Eastern New Mexico. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes, sir, I appreciate you having me.
All right.